Hey everyone. So in this video, we're going to be walking through setting up our sales tax together. And it's important that we set up our sales tax now because we're going to be getting into a series of videos on setting up products and services and sales and invoices and things like that. And tax is going to become relevant again based on like which state you're operating in and stuff and the products you're selling. That's all going to vary, but for the most part, tax is going to play a part where, when you send out an invoice, you sell a product, there's going to be some level of tax associated with it. So it's important that we kind of walk through the setup of that now. And I understand, like, on a state by state basis, state tax, local tax, like all that's going to vary depending on where your business operates, where you have legal entities, where you sell to, where your customers are based, even on a country over country basis, right? Like I'm specifically talking about the US, but in Canada and Australia and other places, like the tax is going to be different. So just keep that in mind as we're walking through this. The example I'm going to be going through is setting up sales tax for the state of Illinois. But hopefully you can kind of follow along and then set it up for your specific use case. What we'll go through is like the simple setup of sales tax, and then I'll show you an invoice example and how that appears on an invoice. And then I'll also show you the reporting side of things, because as you collect sales tax, like you need to report like a liability on your balance sheet. So it's almost like money that you are owing to the government at a later point in time, like when you go to file your taxes. So it's technically a liability when you collect sales tax. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive in then. So let's head over to QuickBooks, and a quick thing before we dive into the setup side of things. Like if you hover over here under all apps, you're going to see sales tax, which is what we're going to be setting up in this video. But you also see business tax. So I don't want you to confuse the two. Business tax is like you going in and actually filing your taxes, and that will happen for everyone over different time periods. But this is basically the act of actually filing your business's taxes, which is different than collecting sales tax. So we're going to be focused on collecting sales tax, which is literally like you send an invoice, you sell a product, there's tax associated to that product. Not to confuse the two. But yeah, just head over to all apps and then sales tax, and then you'll be brought here to this screen. So I've mentioned this in other videos as well. QuickBooks is constantly changing their UI. So this is what the UI looks like right now. But again, this can change over time. So whatever your user interface looks like right now, like you should see somewhere on the screen an option to turn on sales tax. You can see for me, it's kind of embedded in these little reporting widgets. So I'll just click into any one of these and we'll set this up together. Looks like QuickBooks also has a tax quiz to find out whether you actually need to charge tax or not. So you can go ahead and take that quiz, but I'm just going to go ahead and set this up myself. So I'm going to go ahead and click next on this first screen. And then the first thing it's going to confirm or ask you, looks like, is your business address. So just confirm that your business address is correct. So just if it's not, just click this edit button and then change the address. But we looked at this in the company settings video where we set up our initial file. So if you need to edit it, you can either do that here or you can do it there. It'll update in both places. But confirm that your address is correct. Once that's correct, just go ahead and click next. And then it's going to ask you for, you have to pay tax. You have to pay sales tax to these tax agencies. So, in my case, because I'm operating within Illinois, I do have to file tax with the state of Illinois. If I am operating with other tax agencies, and I think they should give me an option to file in other states as well. I think that probably comes on the next screen. I can select those states as well as needed. But in my case, I'm just going to select Illinois for the time being. It is going to ask you for your filing frequency. This is something that I would check with your accountant on, or specifically your tax accountant on. So, and if you don't have one, you can make a selection here of what makes the most sense for your business. But I imagine if you do have a business, you've probably got an accountant that's helping you with your taxes. So just confirm with them how often your filing frequency is. If you're a small business, like you're just starting out, you're probably maybe quarterly. But if you're a more established business, and again, depends on like how much sales tax you're collecting and a bunch of other factors and where you're selling to and stuff will determine how often you need to file. But for me, specifically it's going to be monthly. So I'm going to select monthly, and then I'm going to click next. And then, yeah, here we go. So have you registered for sales tax with any other agency? I'm going to select no, but if you did select yes, you can then search through other states that you have registered with from a tax filing standpoint. You can select that specific tax agency and then also the frequency like we did on the previous page. But for me right now, that's going to not be applicable. So I'm going to select no, and I'm going to click next. And then you can always add agencies after the fact as well. And then there's also like the idea of economic nexus as well, like where, you might not have a physical presence in a particular state, but you're selling enough to that state that it does require you to file taxes and set that agency up. So there could be that option as well. But for the time being, I think I'm good with what I have here on screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click finish and turn on sales tax. And then this might just take a minute or so to load. And looks like I got an error. We couldn't finish setting you up. Wait a few minutes, refresh the page, and try again. So let's just do that. Let's refresh the browser here. And let's go back. And let's see what went wrong here. So let's go back to all apps, sales tax. Yeah, looks like something went on. So let's just redo that again. So just go through it a little quicker here. Next, monthly, next, finish and turn on sales tax. Okay, instead of clicking refresh, let me just click this little X button here. Nope, that is not doing anything. Okay, so hopefully you didn't get the same error message that I did, but super weird. I actually logged out and I actually logged back in on another browser, and I was able to set it up exactly the same way, following the exact same steps that I did. I think it might be because I was in an incognito browser or something. I'm not sure, but I logged out, did it in another browser, came back in, and it was all set up. Once you get through the screen, the setup screen successfully, you should see something like this. So let's kind of like break down what you're looking at here. So this first reporting widget shows the sales tax due. I mean, of course, I haven't sold anything or filed anything, so I have nothing due at the moment. I have nothing ready to file. Again, I haven't sold anything, so there's nothing accruing here. Economic nexus. So, if you click on go to economic nexus, what you could do is like you could set up thresholds of like other states that you again don't have a physical presence in, but you might be selling enough into where you do need to register for taxes in that state. So yeah, you can do that here. But the main thing that we want to do here is exactly what we just did, which is set up the sales tax for your specific state. A couple of other things that I'll just quickly go through is if you go back into all apps and then sales tax, you'll now have a few more options here in terms of other things that you can kind of browse. So you can see your sales tax returns over a period of time. And we'll run through an example and kind of walk through like, how this all shows up here from a reporting standpoint. Sales tax categories. If you're following this course in order, we haven't actually got to setting up like products and services just yet. But basically when you go to set up those products and services, it's going to ask you, which category does this product belong to? And that's going to determine how much tax is paid on that specific item, or maybe it's exempt as well. You can see here for the test products that I already have created in QuickBooks, into its AI functionality is giving me a suggestion as to like where this should be categorized. So I'm going to leave that blank as is, because when we get to the products and services section, I'll confirm that there. But like if you're confident, or if you've already set up products and services and you're now following this video and setting up taxes, you can just confirm suggestion if this is correct, or click select category and select the appropriate category. Yeah, we talked a little bit about economic nexus, and then the last thing here is sales tax settings. So in my example, I registered with the Illinois Department of Revenue. If you wanted to add another agency, you could do that here, like we saw in the setup stage. If you had a use case for like a custom sales tax rate, and again, this is going to be dependent on your specific business, where you operate and all that other stuff, but like maybe there was like a specific like city restaurant tax, or Yeah. So, something to that extent. I'm almost thinking about like, when depending on the business you operate in, you might have like a cleanup fee or like a disposal fee or like one of those types of environmental fee. That's what I was looking for, environmental fee. Not necessarily a tax, but like you get the idea. Like that's the type of like custom rate that you would add if you had any of those nuances based on your business and where you operate, and you can add those custom rates here. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the setup side of things. Like, as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Once you select your state, it kind of like auto calculates all of the rates for you. So now to actually see this in the form of an example, let's set up an invoice. So let's go to create and then invoice. And what we'll do here is let's select a test customer. And again, you might not have a product or service because if you're following this course in order, we haven't actually set that up yet. But just for demonstration purposes, because I already have a few set up here, I'll just show you how this appears on the invoice. If you want to follow along, you can just click add new, add the name of a product, add a price, and then you can delete it after. But select this service. And actually, this is a service, so I don't even know if, because for the most part, services don't really have a tax rate. So actually what I'll do is, you know what, let's just set up a brand new product here real quick. Coffee beans. Oops. And let's say it's a non-inventory item, and let's do $20, and all of that stuff doesn't matter yet. And let's click. Oh, here we go. Sales tax category. Perfect. Here we go. The AI kicked in here and automatically found coffee grounds and beans for us. So that's exactly what we want. Let's click save and close. So let's say, this is the product I added. Oh, you know what? I see the reason it's giving us an error. Something's not quite right. We can't validate this shipping address. So we've based the sales tax calculations on your business address. Okay, I think that's fine just to show for demonstration purposes. Yeah, looks like it calculated the sales tax based on my business address. But the reason is because the customer doesn't have an address. Yeah, I guess it's because I haven't put the customer's address in. But looks like it's just taking our address. But again, like we haven't got to the customer section either. So like we haven't actually set that up. But just to show you like from an example standpoint, you can see the product. It pre-selects tax if that product has a tax category assigned to it. And then, of course, based on where the customer is ordering to, it'll calculate that sales tax accordingly. So it calculated 25 cents here. So the invoice total is $20.25. So let's click save and close here. We'll come back and delete this invoice after. The reason I want to save this, I just want to show you what this looks like from a reporting standpoint. And so if we go to reports and then standard reports, and we head over to balance sheet, and then if we scroll down, here we go. So you can see the liability that was set up here. Essentially what this is sales tax payable for the 25 cents, in my case to the Illinois Department of Revenue. If I click into it, I will see that specific invoice and the tax amount that was assigned to it and auto-calculated. If I go to all apps, sales tax and sales tax returns, we should also see, yeah, there you go. So you see the balance as well. So it'll track your actual transactions down below as well. So it's really nice. Like it's all kind of automated and synced in one nice place so that when it comes down to like filing taxes and remitting taxes and stuff, like all of your data is in one place. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to show. I mean, if you did follow along and create an invoice, I'll just quickly show you how to delete that. So if you just go back into standard reports, balance sheet, the easiest way is just go to that actual invoice. So click on the balance here, click on the amount, or you can really click anywhere. More actions, and then delete. And then that will just remove that invoice completely. But yeah, that's pretty much the sales tax setup side of things. So what we looked at was, selecting our state, setting up our taxes accordingly. You could add additional entities if needed, or tax agencies if they're applicable to your business. We looked at an invoice example of how that appears on a sales form, and then what that looks like from a reporting standpoint, because it gets tracked as a liability account in the form of sales tax payable. But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in this video, and I will see you in the next one.